Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We are on our last lecture of the course, which is lecture number 10, and it's about body tissue. So this is going to be a nice transition between the first semester course to the second semester course. Next semester, you will take what's called the pre-anatomy and physiology. You probably know that by now when you select for your timetable. And that course is all about body tissues, sorry, body organs, organ system, like the digestive system, cardiovascular system, and all that stuff. So we're going to start by learning about body tissue here, and that kind of serves as a connecting point, right, between the two courses. Will I be teaching that course? Yeah, I'll be teaching the first 6 weeks of that course. There are several teachers teaching it though. I know I'll be teaching one section of it for the first 6 weeks of the semester of the summer semester. So I probably will be seeing some of you again. Okay, so here, let's start by talking about the stem cells. Stem cells are these cells that have the potential to become any kind of cells in the body. I mean, if you think back to what we learned in meiosis, humans, we all started with the sperm and the egg, and when the sperm joins the egg, it's just one cell, right? So somewhere along the line, as the cell divides, these cells need to specialize. They need to become heart cells, they need to become lung cells, brain cells, and so on and so forth. So these stem cells are cells that have the potential to become specialized, to differentiate, right, and change into these, more unique cell type that performs a specific function, a particular function. So embryonic stem cells can produce any cell type in the body. These are very we say pluripotent. Pluripotent. What's my pen? Pen's not working. Give me a second. Let me try that one more time. Okay, there we go. So pluripotent, Pluripotent. That means they could become, uh, a very versatile in terms of what they want to become. STEM, uh, I mean, STEM doesn't really mean anything per se, but like when you say stem cells, we're talking about these cells that could really become any other cells in the body. Um, like in English, right? You say something stems from, right? So like it branches off from, right? If you think about a plant, stem is like the main thing, and then there are many things that comes off from it, right? I think that's what the root word means. Like it's like the origin point, and then you have all these things that stems from it, right? So from this origin, maybe you can get your heart cells, maybe you can get your brain cells, you can get your lung cells. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so these embryonic stem cells that are found in the embryo while the baby is still growing, it's pluripotent. They can become anything they want. But after birth, the stem cells are less versatile. Yeah, so like we adults, we also have stem cells, but they're more restricted to a certain area in the body. So we will have these hemopoietic stem cells in the bone marrow that will only be able to make blood cells. So it can make white cells, red cells, and then platelets. And then you have stem cells that are in your intestinal tract, and they will be able to make cells related to the intestinal tract. So they are not as versatile, but they're still there. And this is an old concept, right, that we started talking about in lecture one, 14 weeks ago. There is the atoms that comes together to build molecules. Then we talk about the macromolecules, carbohydrates, proteins, DNA, that kind of stuff. And then we spend quite a bit of time talking about organelles and all the cellular functions. And now we're moving up this level of organization. Right? Different cell types can come together to form tissue. Okay, so we have like connective tissue, we have fat tissue, right? And muscle is a type of tissue, and all these tissues come together to form organs, and then eventually organ system. So organ and organ system, that's what you will learn next semester. Okay, it's a lot harder than this course. We meet also twice a week, but then it's 3 hours per week, per class, as opposed to like 2, right? So a lot more information. But it's fun. Okay, it's a lot more relevant for a lot of people because now we're learning about the human body. Sometimes, when we try to visualize DNA and these transcription translation is a bit abstract, but when we learn about the organ, it's very, very relevant. And if you want to go into healthcare, you're gonna have to learn these things anyways. And these are all the organ systems that we're gonna learn about, except for the integumentary system. That's like the skin system. We're not going to spend too much time talking about that, but everything else, yeah, we're going to go through them. Okay, so before we move on, I want to tell you that we have a lot of like empty spaces in the body. If we remove all the organs, then we see a lot of empty space in the body. And there are a few important ones that I want you to know. Okay, for example, there's the cranial cavity up here. I'm sure you know what's in the cranial cavity, right? So I'm not going to ask you about that. That is the brain is in there. Okay, so that's where the brain goes. There is the thoracic cavity right here in the chest. Can someone tell me what's inside the thoracic cavity? Like, name me a few organs that you think is in there.
The lungs.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Heart.
That's it. The lungs, heart. Very nice. There are other stuff as well, but I think that's good for now. There's the diaphragm that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. What's in the abdominal cavity, huh? Give me something. Sure. Yeah, there are kidneys. Very good. What else?
Stomach.
Intestine.
Stomach, intestine. There you go. Yeah, lots of good stuff in there. Okay, what about the pelvic cavity? And what's the pelvic cavity? What's in there? This is a guy, but you can tell me what's in the female body as well. Pelvic cavity.
Uterus.
Uterus.
Yeah, uterus. Yeah, what else? Anything else in there?
Fallopian tube.
Sure, yeah. What about men? Something from the male body?
Prostate.
Nope. Yes, very good. There you go. Okay. So, for the most part, just know a few things, common things that are in these cavities. Okay, I'm not going to ask you really obscure things that you've never heard of, okay? Just going to keep it simple. All right, anatomical terms. Anatomical terms. So let's take a look on this thing, and hopefully it'll make sense. Do you guys actually have this study guide? Can I just see? Let's do a quick poll. If you have the study guide, please choose A. If you don't have it, please choose B. I want to know how many of you have it. Otherwise, it wouldn't really make sense. Do you have the study guide? Okay, very good. It looks like most of you have it, and if you don't, well, try to follow along and make sure you get a copy afterwards. Okay, so we're going to be labeling this diagram together. We're going to be, learning these things called anatomical terms, and anatomical terms are basically terms that we use to refer to the relative position of things. Okay? So we all want to have like a standardized reference point when it comes to referring to body parts, because after all, what's on top of what depends on whether you are, sitting, standing, or sometimes lying down, right? So we want to make sure that everybody has the same picture in their head when we say, the diaphragm is below the lungs, for example, right? That would be true when you're standing, right? So, I don't know if you guys can see me on the camera, because some people like on the Zoom, they turn off the camera and then they might not see me, right? Okay, but if you have that ability, right, turn on the camera so you can see me, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so like the anatomical position is like when you stand like this, pretty much like the picture. Okay, but you stand up straight, and then you have your arms slightly apart, and then your palms are kind of on the side. Okay? Your toes should be pointing forward. Unfortunately, I cannot show you my whole body. The camera will not capture all of it, but you want to think about it like that. Okay. Now, in the anatomical position, which is what this G is saying, this is anatomical. Anatomical position. Right. Things that are on top, things that are higher up, we call them superior. And what is opposite of superior? Does anybody want to guess?
Inferior.
Opposite of superior is inferior. There you go. Okay, so over here, also superior, looking at the person from the side, inferior, above and below. Okay. Let's practice using these terms. Complete these sentences using the terms superior and inferior. Okay, and you got to think about the anatomical position. Okay, like standing up like I did. Okay. The hands are blank to the feet. Is it superior or inferior?
Superior.
That's right. So this is superior. The hands are basically above the feet, right, in the anatomical position. So I'm going to give you like half a minute just to fill in 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to take it up. All right. Knees are below the waist, right? So inferior. The elbow and the wrist, again, in anatomical position, the elbow would be superior to the wrist. And the calf muscle, calf is like the back of your lower leg. Okay, like this is your leg. This muscle here is the calf muscle, okay? Calf. And the ankle is down here, ankle. So the calf muscle is superior. Anybody want me to clarify any of these? Do they all make sense? Lovely. Okay, next we have anterior and posterior. Okay, so anterior means at the front, in front of. So I'm going to use anterior here and posterior. Now, sometimes in some situation, we also have another word for like for the tummy side, for things that are in the tummy, for the in the abdomen side, we say ventral, and the things that are at the back, we say dorsal. Okay, so for humans, anterior and ventrals are like the same thing in most cases, whereas the back, posterior, and dorsal are the same. But it's not always like that. Okay, like if you think about like an animal, okay, like a dog or something. Okay. What kind of years do dogs or something like that? I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is a dog. Okay. So for the dog, this would be anterior. And then this would be posterior. And then because the dog walks on all four, the tummy side would be the ventral. And then this would be the dorsal. Okay. Like we use anatomical terms not just for humans, right? For like animals in general. So in this case, the anterior is the front, but then the dorsal is like the sky pointing portion. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay. Are we okay? No questions? All right. Let's go back to the PowerPoint here. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. Bicep is here, this one, okay? Tricep is this one. Bicep, tricep. For your leg, and for the leg, this is hamstring. This is quadricep, in case you don't know.
Can you pronounce it again, Professor?
Okay, hamstring, ham, and then string, and then this is
No, this one,
quadriceps.
the one you draw now.
This one?
Yeah. There's the leg, that leg.
Yeah, quadriceps.
Quadriceps.
Because it the muscle has 4 different muscles. Quad. Okay, quad means
Okay,
4, right?
fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quadriceps. Yeah, quadriceps.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Professor, biceps and tricep, where are them?
Bicep right here. Bicep. Like this one. Okay.
Okay.
Tricep at the back.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
know. It's strange words. Okay, help me out. The heel is blank to the toes. What should I put here? Anterior or posterior? The heel is blank to the toes.
Posterior?
Yes, that's right. Okay, so here, let me draw the arm for you. Okay, I don't know if this make any sense. Okay, sorry, it's not really too proportional. Okay, you kind of get the idea. This is biceps. This is triceps. Okay, but don't think of it in terms of this position. Think of it in terms of like anatomical position, right? Like, standing up, hands like that facing forward. The biceps are blank to the triceps. What is it?
Anterior.
Anterior.
Yes. Very nice. And the hamstring is
Posterior.
Posterior.
posterior. There you go. Excellent. Okay, that's it.
Vincent, you said there are 4 different muscles in the leg. Are the hamstring part of them?
No, I said there are 4 muscles in the quadriceps.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why the muscle is said quadra, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for example, like biceps here, it has like double connection to the bone, and tricep has like triple connection to the bone. Yeah, but don't worry about it. You're gonna learn this next semester.
Professor, sorry, I didn't get the anterior and posterior. What does it mean?
Anterior means in front of,
Down?
and posterior means behind.
Behind, in front of. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So like, if you stand like this, my bicep is in front of my tricep, right? That's why it's interior. You understand?
Yes, Professor, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, what's next? So moving on, we can divide the person into left and right using this dotted line. Okay, this dotted line is called the midline. midline. Okay, it divides the body into left and right. So things that are further away from the midline, we say lateral. Okay, like further away from the middle, we say lateral. Things that are closer to the middle, it's medial. For example, our ears are going to be lateral to the nose. Okay, the nose is medial to the ears. Okay, so things that are further away to the side, we say lateral. Things that are closer to the middle, we say medial. Yeah, so like nothing is more medial than your nose, right? Nose is right in the middle. Mouth is in the middle as well. Belly button is also in the middle, right? So those things are medial. Anything that to the side, that's lateral. So here we go. Okay, think about this. Okay, help me out if you have it. Anybody at all? Let me know what you think. The arms are blank to the midline. What do you say? Lateral. That's right. It's always lateral, right? For the mid to the midline. Midline is like the most middle you can get. Everything is lateral to the midline. How about the neck to the arms?
Medial.
Yeah.
Neck is right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Medial. And the shoulders are
Lateral.
Yeah, I hope you guys like this more, right? After like last week's crazy lesson, this would this should be a walk in the park, as they say. Much easier. The ears are
Lateral.
lateral to the nose. There you go. Okay. Wonderful. Next. So if you think about the arms and the legs, the arm connects at the shoulder and the legs connect at the hip, right? Okay. So if things are closer to the connecting point, then we say proximal. Proximal. Okay, this is the connecting point, the shoulder, right? Shoulder, that's the connecting point. The hip, that's the connecting point for the leg. So if things on the head, on the arm and on the legs are closer to the connecting point, then we say proximal. For example, okay, take a look at the video if you have me on. The elbow is proximal compared to the wrist. Okay, it's closer to the connecting point, right? Closer to where the shoulder is. Opposite of proximal is distal. Distal. Now you might be wondering, hey, if I'm talking about, let's say the knees and the ankle, can I say the knees are superior than the ankle? Yes, you can. But at the same time, you can also say the knees are proximal to the ankle. There are more than one correct ways to use these terms. Okay.
Vincent, what about the waist?
The waist is right here. Yeah, what about the waist?
Yeah, to the knees.
Oh, the waist would, okay, so because the waist is no longer part of the leg, right?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't use proximal or distal.
Okay.
So in this case, the waist would be more superior, right? To the knees.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's only if it's belong to the same appendage, right? Like arms and legs. Okay. So So complete these sentences using proximal and distal. I'm going to give you half a minute. Shouldn't take too long. All right, first one. What do you guys think? You can type in the chat. You can unmute. The fingers are playing to the elbows.
Distal.
Yes. The knees are playing to the feet.
Proximal.
Proximal.
Proximal. And the wrist, right? Don't confuse the wrist with the waist. The wrists are playing to the fingers.
Proximal.
Proximal.
That's right. Okay. That's all for now. Any questions about any of these? All right. Now these are a little bit weird, okay? But not too difficult. There's something called ipsilateral. That's how you pronounce it. Ipsilateral, and contralateral. Ipsilateral means on the same side of the body. Contralateral means on the opposite side. So here's a picture of what's inside the abdominal cavity. We have the spleen here. This is the spleen. Never mind what it does. You will learn it later, next semester. This is the spleen. And then this is the gallbladder. The gallbladder. So they are on the opposite side of the body, right? Like left and right, opposite side. So we say contralateral. Okay. The liver is here and the stomach is here. Contralateral or ipsilateral? What do you think? Don't think too much, just like gut feeling. You look at this, like contra or ipsi.
Ipsi.
C.
Yeah, people always have problem with this. Is it because you see that, they are kind of like that? Like,
I think it's contra because it's kind of under it. It's kind of opposite.
yeah, I would say it's contra. Okay, contralateral. Okay, the liver is mostly on the right side, and then the stomach is mostly on the left side. By the way, when you look at diagram like these, the right and the left are like opposite, right? Because you're looking at it from the front, someone's front. So this is the right side of the person, which is the left side of the paper, right? Okay, so I would say this is contralateral as well. Okay. I guess I can give you something that's ipsilateral. Oops. Anybody know what this is? Like, I know it's not very clear on the picture because it's like faded out, but like, what's that thing? This here,
Appendix.
that is the appendix. That's right. Appendix. Okay, this doesn't have any function, and it could cause inflammation, and you have to cut it off. Right. So the gallbladder and the appendix, ipsilateral. Okay, ipsilateral. These are very rarely used. Right? Like, it's like, don't worry too much about it. Deep and superficial. Deep means closer to the core of the body. Superficial means closer to the surface of the skin. Okay, so let's see. Bones are generally located, what do you think? Deeper than muscle or superficial?
Deeper.
Deeper, right? Yeah, the bone is inside the muscle, right? Most of the time. This is deeper. Deeper than. And skin are?
Superficial.
Superficial. Nothing is superficial to the skin. I guess like the only thing that's superficial to skin would be like the hair, right? Like body hair or like hair, those are outside of the skin, but for the most part, skin is pretty superficial. The cranium is the skull that protects the brain. So the brain is
The
deeper.
brain is deeper.
That's right, deeper than the cranium. The pericardium, again, like you don't necessarily have to know what that means, right? It says in the question, the pericardium is a membrane that surrounds the heart. We can say the pericardium is,
Superficial.
there we go, superficial. Does everybody understand? Okay, a lot of you I haven't here for the whole semester, but you come every week, so that's a good thing. I just want to make sure that everybody is okay before moving on. Excellent. Next, we're gonna look at planes and sections. Okay, planes and sections. I'm gonna go back to our study guide here, and I have another picture here. So we can cut the body in various ways. So for example, we can cut the body into top and bottom. Okay. You want to get some colors for the next semester. We're gonna be doing a lot of drawings and a lot of coloring diagrams, and you really need to have some markers and crayons. It makes the learning much easier. So this is called the transverse plane. Okay, so it's like, you know, if you're gonna take a plane and then you're gonna cut me like this, and cut me like that. Okay, you cut it into top and bottom. That's called transverse, like that. Okay, divides into superior and inferior portion, top and bottom. So you will be looking at a lot of diagrams next semester, and then I will have to tell you what kind of cut are we looking at. Okay, like, is it transverse cut? Is it, you know, some other cut? Okay, how about this one here? This one cuts it into front and back. What's another word for front and back?
Anterior, posterior.
That's right. So this plane is gonna divide into anterior and posterior portion. And we call that the frontal plane. Frontal or coronal plane. Divides into anterior / posterior portions. Okay, so if you have trouble visualizing it, it's cutting like this, okay? Like that. Okay, cutting it in the front and back. So let me show you, right? I don't know, it's just some second semester stuff here. Let's go to lecture 1. See, lots of coloring. This is a heart, and this heart has been cut using a frontal or a coronal plane. Okay, so like sometimes you will cut it this way, sometimes you will have to cut it sideways, and we're looking at it from the front. So we say this is an anterior view. I'll show you another example here. Where is the brain? This is the brain. Okay, so this one, what kind of cut do you think this is? It divides into, what do you think? Front, back, top, bottom, left, right. What's your guess?
Left, right.
Left, right, exactly, right? So like you have to know how to refer to them. Okay, so let me just go back to our notes.
Vincent, so when, let's say let's say we want to cut the body now, is it like discretion or according to what is wrong with the person, or how do we, you know, like, what's the reason for like cutting like this?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay. hold that thought, okay? I will answer your question in a bit. Yeah. Hold that thought, huh? Very good question. I'm just gonna color this thing first. This is called the sagittal. Sagittal plane. Okay. Divides into left and right portion. Okay. If it's right down the middle, that's the mid-sagittal. Okay, so listen. Here is my virtual cutter. If you cut here, that's sagittal, right? Because it separates the arm, left and right. Okay, you keep on cutting. But if you cut down right down the middle, right down the midline, then this is mid-sagittal. Everything else is just sagittal. Okay. So, you know, the question was like, when do we use this term? Like, why would we cut things up? Like in a healthy person, obviously we're not going to be cutting things up. But for autopsy, for example, right, when people look at the different organs, then the person doing the autopsy, they have to follow certain procedures to know how to cut the organs. Sometimes to analyze the tissue, you have to cut them into really thin slices and look at it under the microscope. So you have to know how you're cutting. Are you cutting it, you know, sagittally? You're cutting it with transverse planes, or you know, how are you cutting it? But I guess the most commonly used situation for these kind of things is when you are doing what do we call this? What kind of picture am I showing you? Anybody know? What are these scans
Biopsy?
called? I'm sorry, what is it?
Biopsy.
MRI.
Oh yeah, yeah, not biopsy, but MRI. That's right, MRI or CT scans, right? Okay, so CT uses X-ray, and MRI it's using like magnetic field, magnetic resonant imaging. So you basically will look at the body. You scanning it in different planes in the brain. So for example, like what plane do you think this is? Is this transverse? Is it sagittal? Is it coronal? What is it? Just take a guess. Any guess?
Corona.
Yeah, this is coronal. This is very good. That is coronal. Right, so you know how you have to know what side you're looking at, right? Because then the structures would be different. Right? So this one is transverse. Okay, and then this one is sagittal, right? Okay, so those are the contexts where these things will be used in practice. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, how about this one? All right, let's do a poll right here. Poll. Relaunch the poll. The right thumb is blank to the left big toe. Okay, choose all the words that are appropriate to describe this relationship. Where is everybody? I only have one answer. This is okay. Well, that was a minute. Thank you for those who have participated. Let's see the the right thumb is this right here, left toe. I'm sure you know where that is as well. So superior would be appropriate on top of it. Lateral would also be appropriate. If you think about how you stand in the anatomical position, The hands are like further away, right? So, you know, this is the, what did I say? I said the right thumb. Okay, so right thumb is right here. Left toe is right here, right? It's more lateral, right? Which makes sense. And is it on the same side, ipsi, or is it contra? Oh, one is on the right, one is on the left. So obviously it's contra. Okay. How about this? This is cooking, okay? If you buy a salmon steak, what kind of cut do you think this is? Anybody? Think about the salmon.
Transverse.
Transverse, okay, anyone else?
Sagittal.
Sagittal. Okay. Well, transverse would be cutting it like this, like, you know, taking a knife and then cutting it like that. That's transverse. Okay. So that doesn't really happen. Not sagittal either. Sagittal would be like if you're filleting it. Okay. This is coronal, guys. Coronal. If you cut the salmon like this, then that's where you're gonna get the salmon stick. Okay, coronal. Think about it, right? I mean, like if you don't eat fish or meat, then maybe it's like a little bit harder to visualize, but think about it in terms of the salmon's perspective. This is separating into front and back, and that would be a coronal cut. Okay, that's it. Moving on. So the next part is like we have quite a bit of slides, and it's gonna feel like an information overload, but do not worry. Do not worry. I'm just gonna go through all of it with you first, and then I'm gonna make a summary slide for you that put everything together. Okay? So I don't want you to get overwhelmed. There's gonna be a lot of new terms, and it's gonna have a lot of examples, and you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, how am I gonna remember all these? Don't worry, at the end, I'll give you a summary. Okay, so just hang in tight. So we're gonna talk about the different types of tissues. And we're gonna start with what's called epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue. Right? So there are all the different kinds of epithelial tissue here. Let's see. In terms of the general characteristic, epithelial tissue, or epithelium, we say, has one free surface that faces either the outside environment or some kind of internal body fluid. And that is called the apical side. So if you think about like the small intestine here, that's what's being shown here. The apical side is going to be the side that is facing the food. Okay? The apical side right here. This here is the apical side. If you think of like carpet, okay, the side that you are walking on, that would be like the apical side. The underneath side that we don't see, the side that attaches the carpet to the house, okay, that's what we call like the basement membrane. So that's the side that kind of connects the epithelial tissue with the rest of the body. Okay, so over here you can see, I'm gonna outline it for you. That's the basement membrane. Okay, that glues the thing to the rest of the body. So all epithelium has this characteristic, the apical side and the basement membrane. So what do they do and how do we classify them? Well, they are typically there to offer some kind of protection, or they're there to, you know, make some kind of secretion. And we classify them based on, number one, how many layers, and number two, the shape. Okay, number of layers and the shape. If it's one layer only, then we say simple. Simple equals one layer. Stratify means multiple layers. Okay? Excuse me. One layer simple, multiple layers stratify. And then the shape. There are 3 shapes in general. They could be flat. The best way to think about flat cell is think of like a sunny side up egg. Okay. The yolk would be like the nucleus, and then the rest of the cell. So that's called squamous. Squamous. Next we have cuboidal. That's how you pronounce it. Cuboidal, as the name implies, is like a box, like a dice. Okay, and then the nucleus is in the middle. Columnar, it's very long, like a rectangular, like a fridge, like a locker. Okay, with the nucleus in the middle. All right. So we can use these words in conjunction with each other. Say, simple squamous. Simple squamous. What does simple mean? Help me out. Do you remember?
One layer.
One
Yeah.
layer.
So this is one layer of really flat cells. That's all it means. You can see the drawing here. We have the flat cells. That's one cell. Okay, that's another cell. That's another cell. That's another cell. It's flat, and then it's just stuck to the basement membrane. This is exactly like carpet. Right? The free surface, the apical side, that's the side you walk on. And then the basement membrane is the part that sticks everything together to the body, right? So this is squamous, it's flat, and it's one layer, simple. What is it best for? Well, it's really thin, so it's very good for things like diffusion and osmosis. Things can just move past it easily, right? So we would find them in like the air sacs of the lungs where gas exchange occurs, blood vessels, and heart lining. Okay, the inside of the blood vessels, these squamous epithelium actually creates a very smooth surface. Blood doesn't like rough surfaces. If blood passes through the rough surface, it's gonna clog. Okay, so we don't want clogging to happen. It creates a smooth surface. Okay, so that's simple squamous. What if we have many layers of these squamous? Well, then it's stratified squamous. Okay, multiple layers of flat cells. So because there are many layers in it, then they offer some kind of protection. Okay, it's good to have these stratified squamous epithelium at places where there's a lot of like wear and tear, maybe like friction, right? Then we want to protect it. So like the inside of the mouth, the esophagus, right? Those are places that have a lot of like wear and tear. Think about like all the kind of foods that we eat. There's hot, there's cold, there's like sour stuff, acidic stuff, hot stuff, as in like spicy stuff, right? Chips are hard, it goes down. So there's a lot of like mechanical stress, cutting and stuff like that, right? Not like, cutting, but like rough surfaces rubbing against the esophagus, right? So we want to protect them. That's why we have stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, and these are, don't worry about this, but since it's on the slide, I'm going to tell you it's non-keratinized. That means there is no like, it's not like on the hand, on the skin. Those are keratinized. Okay, so they form like a water barrier. But inside the body, we don't need a body barrier, right? So on the external body, right, what's a good place to put these stratified squamous epithelium? Like the bottom of your feet, right? Okay, like some of you might know if you walk a lot, okay, then especially the parts of your feet where there's a lot of rubbing against the inside of your shoes, the skin in those areas becomes thicker, right? That's your body creating more stratified squamous epithelium to protect it, right? Like I used to have a little, I still kind of do, like when I was in university studying and stuff like that. Like back then we didn't really type notes too much. It's like all handwritten, right? And I write so much that the way I hold my pen is kind of like this. It's like resting on my middle finger. So there was like a huge bump here, right? And that's all stratified squamous. Like it's just body's response to like creating extra cushioning, extra protection to protect against wear and tear. Okay, and you should understand this is not ideal for gas exchange. there are so many layers. Like how can the oxygen goes all the way through, right? So for gas exchange, best to stick with the simple squamous. Otherwise, for protection, you want multiple layers. Okay, next we have simple cuboidal. Okay, for cuboidal and columnar, it's just simple. There's no such thing as stratified cuboidal or stratified columnar. Okay, so for simple cuboidal, they form the outside of some kind of duct. Okay, so a duct is like a tube that connects to an organ that may be making some kind of secretion. Okay, so like you have these ducts that carries urine to the urinary bladder from the kidney. You have ducts that are like in the ovaries and the mammillary gland. So a lot of these ducts, right? If you take a look at this, this is like the duct, and this is like the inside where the secretion is going to be going through. The cells over here, right, that makes up the duct. That's going to be the cuboidal cells, and you can see here they cut open the duct. And there is a cell. There's a cuboidal cell right there. That's another cuboidal cell. Okay, and they're good for making secretion and also absorption. They help absorb things as well. Okay. Then we have simple columnar, which is a little bit longer, so they offer a bit of a better protection. Okay. They also play a role in secretion and absorption, and you will find them in places like the intestinal tract. Okay, so ducts for the cuboidal, and the columnar, you're going to find it in the GI tract. Right? This is just an overview to show you what kind of tissue there are. Okay, when we go to next semester, when we learn, like actually learn about the organs, we will tell you specifically, oh, the you know, the esophagus is made of the stratified squamous. Okay, but then the small intestine, we actually have the simple columnar. We're actually going to go into more details about them, right? So like I said, don't get overwhelmed. I will tell you exactly what you need to know at the end of the lecture. I'll give you a summary. This is just like, I know, like no one expects you to memorize all these in, you know, in a week, and you don't need to. You don't need to. Just remember the big concepts and you'll be okay. Now, sometimes there are these pseudo stratified. Pseudo means like fake. If someone uses like a fake name, it's called a pseudonym, right? So pseudo stratify means it looks like it's multiple layers, but if you pay close attention, it's actually just single layer. That's what pseudo stratify means. It appears to be multiple layers, but it's actually just one layer. And they are ciliated, means they have cilia on them, and it's columnar. So it's rectangular cell with little hair on them. And, you know, we learned this in Unit 3. You will find them in, say, the airway. You will find them in the reproductive tracts, right? Like the fallopian tube, right? That will help guide the egg movements. And also, in some cases, you might have specialized epithelium, right? These are cells that have, in addition to cilia, they might also have what's called microvilli. And these microvilli will help increase the surface area. So if the surface is just like a flat line, you know, this here is not a lot of area. But if they fold it up like this, and they actually do, and that's much longer, right? That's much bigger in terms of the coverage. And that is excellent for nutrient absorption, say in the intestine. Okay, so that's all. Now, let's try to identify some of these things. Okay, and it's not too difficult. I don't want you to get, again, don't get overwhelmed. Let's start with something simple over here. Like, what do you think these are? These little square boxes. Okay, what should we call them? Is it squamous? Is it cuboidal? Is it columnar? What do you think? Cuboidal, that's right. Q, and then boy, like B-O-Y, boy, but it's B-O-I. Okay, Y and I are the same. And then cuboidal. Okay, and then this is a duct. Right? This is the inside of the duct. That's where the secretion is gonna be. Like if we're talking about the mammillary gland, that would be like milk. If we're talking about sweat gland, then it will be sweat. Okay, that's cuboidal. Hey, how about these ones? Look at them. Right? What do you think?
Vincent,
Yeah.
but the cuboidal ones, is this simple or because
Oh, this is simple, yeah. Because
Oh.
that's one layer, and then that's like also one layer, but they are on
Oh,
like
okay.
opposite side, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But cuboidal is always simple. The only one that has stratify is the
Squamous.
squamous, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. What is this thing? What about this, guys?
Column.
Columnar.
Mm,
Yeah, so they offer a bit of protection. They are there for secretion and absorption, right? Right? Now these are also columnar, right? But look, they have hairs on them. Right? Look at them. They have little hairs. So what do we call the hair?
Cilia.
Yeah. And these little circles, they are the nucleus, right? The nucleus. And so it looks like there are multiple layers, but actually it's not, right? So we say pseudo stratify, ciliated, columnar. Okay. How about this here? What do you think this is?
Stratified.
Stratified.
There you go. Stratify squamous. That's it. Multiple layers. And then this is just squamous. Okay, this is looking at it from the top, right? Squamous. Does anybody want to ask anything before we move on?
This tissue, do they also like in plants and both plant and animal cells, or
Oh yeah. The plant have their own as well. Okay, but
okay.
it's a little bit different than us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. All right, let's see if you were listening. I'm not even gonna do the poll. Okay, I don't want to disappoint myself because only one or two people are doing it. But take a look at this. Which of the following best describes multiple layers of flat cells? If you were listening, you should be able to find the answer.
You're doing the polling?
Oh no, we're not doing the poll. I'm just like asking just to see.
B.
Stratified.
Yeah, D, right? Sorry, no. What is it? B, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Stratify is multiple layers. Flat cell is squamous. Okay. What are they best for? Why do you want multiple layers when you need to have? What's the word?
Protection.
That's right, protection. Like in the mouth, in the esophagus, right? Bottom of the feet, palms of the hand, in the anus, right? All those places. Stratify squamous. How about this? Which of the following tissue is best type for diffusion? For if you want to get things across. Do you want? What is it?
Simple squamous.
Yeah, exactly. Simple squamous. You don't want to have to cross like 5-6 layers. That's not efficient, right? Okay. Big concepts. Just remember the big concepts and you will be okay. Okay, let's see here. Healthy trachea, and this is true, okay? Healthy trachea are lined with ciliated columnar epithelium. These are like rectangular cells with little hairs to help remove the dust from the trachea, from the airway. In heavy smoker, the ciliated columna will likely be replaced. Okay.
Pseudo stratified column.
It will be some kind of stratify. Yeah, exactly, right? So like I would say stratify squamous. Okay, stratify squamous is probably best protection, multiple layers, right? Okay. Because remember, pseudo stratify columna, that's still just one layer, right? That's what pseudo means, right? Pseudo means it looks like it's multiple layers, but it's not, right? Is that
So when they say replaced here, does that mean like the healthy the healthy one has been like spoiled, or what
Yeah,
is
so
it?
like the cigarette smoke actually kills the cilia, and then
okay.
as a way to like rebound and offer protection, the cells actually morph, they change into these
Oh,
stratifiers.
okay,
That's why
okay.
like heavy smoker, they have the smoker's cough, because the
Oh,
cilia are
okay.
no longer there. They can't get rid of all the stuff that are trapped. They have to physically like
Okay.
cough it out, right?
Okay.
Okay, and that's it. Okay, well, that's it for like one set of them. You survive one set of them. So let's start our summary sheet. You should take out a new piece of paper, class notes, and what is this? April 8th, GS 182. Okay, so I want you to do it sideways, landscape. Okay, landscape like this. Okay, you're gonna write the word tissue here, and then we're gonna have 4 things that are coming out. Okay, we're gonna be just doing this for now. All right, so plan ahead so you don't run out of space. People don't like it when they run out of space in the note. Okay, I'm just gonna put the lines back. It's easier for me. Tissue. Okay, tissue here. All right, tissue is like a collection of cells, right? If we go up our hierarchy, after cell is tissue. After tissue is organs, right? So there's the tissue. There we go, tissue. We have the epithelium, okay, or epithelial tissue, same thing. Okay, I'm just gonna put in bracket epithelium. There are 2 kinds here. 2 kinds. We have the simple, and we have the stratify. We have 3 types of simple. Do you remember what they are? If you do, please let me know.
Squamous,
Yep, there's the squamous,
cuboidal,
cuboidal,
and columnar.
and the columnar. Very good. Right? Flat, square, rectangle. Right? Okay, so this is good for diffusion. This is good for secretion plus absorption. And then this is also secretion, absorption, but because it's so big, it's also good for what? If it's really big, bulky, what is it good for? Protection. Okay, like a bodyguard. You want someone big and bulky. Okay, now columnar has different kinds as well. Okay. Let me see how, okay, so there is the ciliated. There's the one with the microvilli. And then there is the pseudo stratify. Right, so regular ciliated is like with hair. Microvilli is like with these little foldings, like a comb. This is more like a brush, okay, like a paintbrush. This is more like a comb. And then pseudo stratify is like this. Okay, like also with hair, ciliated. Okay, so like, you know, it looks like it's multiple layers, but then it's a single layer. So this is in intestine. This is in airway. And then this might be in the also airway. Plus like fallopian tube, right? All right. What about stratify? Right. There's only one kind of stratify, right? And which one is that?
Squamous.
Squamous. And it's good for protection. It's good for protection. Okay, 1 down, 3 to go. But before we go on, any questions? Okay, next. Next, we're going to talk about connective tissue. So we just did epithelial tissue. Now we're going to do connective tissue. There are 4 kinds of tissues, okay? Connective tissue. So connective tissue, they bind things together. I guess the name implies, right? They connect things together. They're kind of like glue that provides support, protection, kind of fill up space. And then they also produce blood cells and store fat. And the key theme here to kind of notice is that the connective tissue, they have a cellular component to it. And usually this cellular component is embedded in a non-living environment, which we call the extracellular matrix. Okay, so the extracellular matrix consists of various supporting material that could either make it into a solid, a semi-solid, or sometimes a complete fluid. I'll give you a few examples and it will make sense right away. So first, we have 2 categories. We have what's called soft connective tissues, and then we have specialized connective tissue, 6 types in total. Let's start with the soft connective tissue. So under soft connective tissue, we have loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Let's start with the loose one. Loose connective tissues, as the name implies, is not very compact. It's not very dense. Okay, it's like just fillers, kind of like those styrofoam stuff that comes in your package, like just fill up the cart box, so it's not gonna, cause damage. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, let me show you a picture. Styrofoam. I think they're called styrofoam peanut. Let me see. Like these things. This is the only picture I can find. Let's see if it's make any sense to you. Right there. These things, these styrofoam peanut. This comes sometimes you order, I don't know, some kind of electronic or something, and then they fill up the box with the peanut, right? With these styrofoam things, so it protects it, it cushions it, and that's exactly what the loose connective tissue does. Okay, it's commonly lies between other tissues or between organs, binding them together, and you can see these are the cells. Okay? The cells, they have names, but never mind that, and they exist in this network. Right? All these strands that you see, that's the extracellular matrix. Okay, so loose connective tissue between organs, right? Underneath the skin. If you pinch your skin and you rub them between your fingers, the thing that you're feeling, that's basically the loose connective tissue. Dense connective tissue has 2 kinds. We have dense irregular connective tissue. You will also find them underneath the skin and in some hollow organs. Hollow organs, examples like, your stomach is hollow. That's where the food goes. Your heart actually is hollow. It has 4 chambers in it. There's even some hollow space in the brain as well. And dense, irregular, if you look at the structure in the picture here, there's no structure to it. It's just like randomly organized. So they are not really good for strength. Okay, the fibers are just like mishmash, right? Whereas dense, regular, you can see the fibers are parallel to each other, so they are quite strong, which is excellent for forming tendons and ligaments. Tendons, they connect muscle to bone, whereas ligaments, they connect bones to bones. Okay, so that's the soft connective tissue.
Vincent, can you go to the previous slide? I just want to clear
Yeah.
this. No, not this one.
This one?
Yeah, this one.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So, okay, thank you.
Right, so we did the loose connective tissue, just fillers underneath the skin between the organs. Dense connective tissue, we have the regular kind, which is tendon and bone and ligaments, and then we have the irregular kind. Okay, so why don't we put this on our cheat sheet first before continuing? Okay, so now we're gonna come down for like the second column right here, second category. First category was the epithelial tissue. There we go. And now we just learned a second type. Right, this is called the connective tissue. Connective tissue. Two kinds of connective tissue, right? We have the soft connective tissue. Soft connective tissue. And the soft connective tissue also has 2 types, right? Which is why we need this chart to organize it. Otherwise, like too much information. We have the loose connective tissue. Okay. So I'm just gonna go to the PowerPoint here, and then I'm gonna copy the picture. And you can do that on your own as well. Oh boy, that is really big. Give me a second. Okay, this is the one. Loose connective tissue. Right. Where do we find it? Underneath, under the skin. And like those packing peanut, okay, between organs. Okay. What's the opposite of loose?
Dense.
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 And I hope you understand why this is loose, right? Like literally is loose. You have a lot of like empty spaces in between, right? So the opposite is dense. Dense connective tissue, which comes in 2 forms. So many different types. 2 forms. We have the regular and we have the irregular. And that has to do with the banding patterns, right? In regular, it's very, you know what, I'm just gonna copy the picture over. It's parallel fibers, parallel strands that are very nicely organized, and that's a good thing for strength. And this is the regular kind. There you go. You can see, right? It's parallel, right? So good for strength, and we'll find them in tendon and ligament. Tendon is what connects the muscle to the bone. If you eat chicken, like drumstick, when you eat the meat, sometimes you see the little thing at the end, the little transparent, almost transparent looking thing at the end. That's the tendon. And ligaments. Ligaments connects bone to bones. That is regular. And the other kind is the irregular. Just trying to copy the picture here for you. And just like the loose connective tissue, it is also under the skin. Under the skin. And in hollow organs. As opposed to like between organs, right? This is inside. All right. I hope this is helping somewhat, right, with the organization. Right? And this is all you need for the test, really. Okay, so that's the soft stuff. Now we have the specialized connective tissue. There are 4 types. Specialized. So here is the cartilage. That's the first one. You find cartilage is in various places. Okay, cartilage offers flexibility. And limited protection. So there are 3 different kinds of cartilage, depending on where you find them. There's something called like haline cartilage, which you will find in the trachea. If you move your hand up and down your throat here, you feel the ridges, right? That's the cartilage around the trachea. We have elastic cartilage in the ear, right? That's why your ear is flexible. Where else in the face do you have elastic cartilage besides your ear?
Nose.
That's right, the nose. That's why, like, if you look at a skull, everything decays away, right? The except for the bones, right? And the ear and the nose are gone because those are not bones; those are cartilage. You have fibrous cartilage, like in the intervertebral disc. That's like in your backbone. Between 2 bones, there is a little bit of cartilage to prevent the wear and tear. In sometimes as part of aging, the disc gets thinner and thinner, and sometimes people have what's called like a slip disc, and then they would have like these tingly sensation, numbing sensation in the hands or in the legs, and they actually have to go and pull on their spine, right? You might or might not have heard of that, but we will definitely learn about it next semester. Okay, so these are cartilage. Okay, they look very pretty under the microscope, actually, right? They look like little crystal structure. Those are the cells. Again, the name is not important. And then everything in between, that's the matrix. Okay, so cartilage. Next specialized connective tissue is adipose tissue. Adipose is just a fancy name for fat, and fat tissues are there to store energy. Store energy. And we learned about fats a long time ago, right? We know they're there for insulation, keeps things warm, and cushioning, right? Of important organs. Right, so these are the fat cells. Okay, inside are all fat. Okay, you just store the lipids there. Okay. Cartilage, adipose tissue. Next is bones. Bones look really cool. Right? They look like tree rings. To me, they look like tree rings. And bones are actually alive. Right? There are these little black holes that are here and there. That's where the bone cells are going to be living in. Okay? And all the white parts in between, that's where the calcium is going to be deposited. Okay? That big hole in the middle, that's where the blood vessel is going to be coming in. And again, you have a whole lesson on that in
Vincent,
next
so
semester.
the bone is a type of a tissue.
It's a type of connective tissue, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So people think that bone is not alive, but it's not true. Bone is very alive. Okay, it's constantly remodeling, constant changing in the bone, even when you are older. Okay, lastly, we have blood, which is also a kind of connective tissue. So that's what I mean, right? Like the connective tissue, they have the cells and then they have these matrix. The matrix can either be completely fluid, like it is the case for blood. It could be a solid, like it is the case for bone and for cartilage, or it could be like semi-solid, okay, like the loose connective tissue. All right. So blood, I know I keep on repeating this, but you will learn, you will have a whole lecture on this on blood next semester. Okay. We'll learn more about it. But for now, there are three kinds of cells. Red cells for transporting oxygen. We know that already. Actually, red cells also transport carbon dioxide. White cells for fighting against bacteria and viruses. We call them pathogens. And platelets for clotting the blood when you have a cut. Okay, so plasma is the fluid portion of the blood. You can actually spin the blood down, and the red cells would be at the bottom, and then the plasma would be at the top. It's mostly water with some nutrients in it. Okay, so details are not important. Just remember red cells transport oxygen. White cells fight pathogens, and platelets are for clotting. Okay, I know I went through that relatively quickly, but again, I only tell you what you need to know. Okay, let's see how many of these can you identify. And let's start with something easy. What do you think the top right here is?
The bone.
Bone.
Yeah, that's bone, right? That's the easiest one. Everybody knows the bone. Right? It's like tree rings. Okay. How about here? There's a lot of like empty spots.
The loose.
Yeah, good try. Good try.
Adipose.
This is gonna be the adipose. Yes, adipose. Right? It's fat, right? That's where the fats are. Fat. That's where the lipids are, the triglyceride. This one looks very pretty with the little crystals. What do you think that is with the crystals? That's the cartilage, right? Cartilage. In the nose, in the ears, in the trachea, right? How about this one?
The loose tissue.
Connection.
Yeah,
Connect.
that's a loose one, loose connective. This is the dense, right? Dense connective. Oh, you can't even see the color. This is dense. Do you think this is regular dense or irregular dense? Look at the fibers.
Regular.
Yeah, this is pretty regular because you see it's parallel, right? It's not like, all over the place. And how about this? This is also easy to see. I hope you know that one. That is blood. Okay. These little purple guys, those are the white blood cells. And the red ones here, those are the red blood cells. Okay. And these little guys, those are the platelets. Okay. So like you might have some of these pictures on the test, and you will have to identify them. Okay. But have this with you, you should be okay. Let's put it in the summary here. Okay, so don't forget we were talking about connective tissue, and then the other kind of connective tissue is specialized connective tissue. Okay. So we have 4 types, and I'm just gonna copy them over for you. Let me see how I can do this. Okay, so we have this one, and just go through it one more time. This is, what is this? Just one more time. You can say it.
Bone.
Yeah, this is the bone. Very good. Okay, we have the blood. We have the little crystal ones. What's the crystal one again?
Cartilage.
Cartilage. You'll find them in the ears, in the nose, in the backbone. And the last one is, if we want to store some energy, we're going to store it in this guy. This is the the
Adipose.
fat, exactly. Adipose. Adipose tissue. That's it. Okay. I try to make it as easy as possible for you. And I hope you are okay. All right. Let's complete the notes, and then I'll show you the PowerPoint slide. Because the last two is very straightforward, okay? The hardest part is over. And next we have muscle. Muscle is a type of connective tissue. Muscle. Okay. And then there are three kinds of muscles. Three kinds of muscles. Okay. You will learn the muscle lecture 10 next semester. We have skeletal muscle. We have smooth muscle. And we have cardiac muscle. Okay, let me just copy the picture for you. Okay, let's do skeletal muscle first. Skeletal muscle looks like this. And the two words you want to use to describe it is, number one, it's striated. Striated means it has bands. You can see the bands, right? And it's voluntary. Any muscle that you can move at will is an example of a skeletal muscle. So, you know, today you learned a few muscles from me, right? Didn't you? From the examples. Do you remember what they're called?
Yes.
What is it?
The finger.
The fingers? No, like the name of the muscle. Like, do you remember what this one's called, maybe?
Oh, the bicep.
Yeah, the
Bicep.
biceps. That's right. The biceps, right? The hamstring. All these are skeletal muscle. If you can move it on your own, then it's skeletal muscle. There's so many different muscles, right? Okay. Just two examples here. Smooth muscle, you cannot control. Okay, and they are not striated. You can see this is smooth muscle. There's no bandings, right? You don't see the like the bands here. So we say these are non-striated, and it's involuntary. Okay, so e.g. intestinal tract. Right? You don't control how fast the food moves through your intestines, right? But sometimes you can feel the movement of your intestine, right, as the food is pushing through. So you have muscle in there, but you don't control them. Right? Your brain does it for you. So we call them smooth muscle. Your blood vessels have smooth muscles around them. That causes it to become bigger and smaller. It helps you regulate your blood pressure. But again, we don't control them. So it's involuntary. Lastly, we have cardiac muscle. Okay, you can also see the banding here. So that makes it striated. And it is also involuntary. Involuntary. So only in the heart. Okay, only in the heart. And of course, cardiac muscle is important because it helps the beating of the heart. That's all you have to know for the muscle. Okay. And then the last kind, the last type of connective tissue is going to be Neurons. Neurons. Okay. Nothing much to learn about neurons. Okay. Neurons look like this. Right? They look like this. Here, I'll give you an actual picture instead. I mean, it's in the PowerPoint. Neuron is one of the hardest things you will learn next semester. It's so hard that we will spend, almost 3 weeks on it. Okay, that's a neuron, and neurons are for sensory. Okay, so how do I say this? Okay, so the neurons are to detect changes in the environment or on the inside, and decide what to do with the information. Okay. So for example, if it's too bright, right? Like, what should we do? Like, it's too bright. Like, people might be, I don't know, we're looking at the eclipse today, and it's too bright. So like, you squint your eyes, you block the sun, okay, you put on the shades, right? All those things are in response to too bright, in response to a change in the environment. Okay, so there you have it. 4 kinds of tissue. You really should reorganize this in a way that you understand it and that you can access the information quickly. But that's pretty much the whole unit, the whole lesson. Any questions, guys, at all? Anything I can help you with? Okay, so that's it. You finished the whole course. Congratulations. Now Wednesday, I cannot make it. I have another meeting. There's like so many meetings about like things in general. So I have another meeting, but I will post a review notes for the test as well as the review video for it. And then you guys can watch that and prepare for the final test. Okay. You were also supposed to have a quiz number 4 with me this week as well, which is gonna cover the lecture 8 and 9, right? Lecture 8 and 9. So for quiz 4, you have 2 attempts. I don't know if I told you that before. You can do it 2 times. Did I tell you that already? Have I explained that? Yeah. Okay, great. So you can do 2 times, and then it's only the highest score that's gonna be counted. Okay, so I won't be seeing you again this semester. Okay, like next week, Monday, again, no class. We're done anyways. You can watch the review, and the final test is gonna cover the second half of the course. So far, starting at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, along with the microscope lab, and it's going to be available on Wednesday. Okay, now we have a little bit of time left, so I just want to open up the time to you and see if there's anything you want to ask regarding the upcoming quiz.
Vincent, sorry, I missed the first of this class, so we don't have class for coming Wednesday?
No more. Wednesday I can't. I have a meeting I need to go to, and then Wednesday you guys can use the time to do the quiz. And I know some of you say you cannot do it on Wednesday, which is fine. The quiz is available from Wednesday to Friday. And then next Monday, it'll be asynchronous, so you don't come to the Zoom meeting. You can watch the review video, right? And you can prepare accordingly. Okay, someone just, can the test be available from next Monday, or is it only Wednesday? Test will be just Wednesday next week. Okay, just Wednesday next week. Okay. But as for now, I want to know if there's any question about lecture 8 or 9 for the quiz. Is there anything from the study guide that you want me to take up? Now would be a good time to ask. Lecture 9 is like these things, right? Okay, is there anything from there that you want me to take up before I let you go? I mean, there is the tutorial video for these things as well, but just in case. Okay, well then, if you think of anything else, feel free to email me. Like I said, I won't be seeing you face to face for the rest of the semester, but I am still available for on email, and that's it. You have completed the course in terms of learning. You just got to write the quiz for and final test. And you know, I thank you very much for coming every class.
Vincent, are you taking the next semester course too?
Am I what?
Are you taking the next semester course that you keep talking about?
Yeah, I'll be teaching it again, just for the first
okay.
6 weeks though. Okay, first 6 weeks. Yeah,
okay.
and then someone else will take over. Yeah. You guys already selected your timetable, right? Haven't you?
No.
No.
No,
Oh, not yet. Oh, okay. Well then,